Hey guys, there's something that's really on my heart, a story from my life, if you will, to share with the events of the last months, weeks, days, and especially seeing some language on governmental websites that's very unfriendly towards a specific political party. And I think it's such an interesting moment because this is really what the American government was designed for. Our forefathers knew, because they found it to be self evident, that every single government falls at some point, or empire, and we've been living under the American empire. That's how the history books will view it, right? Um, it falls because of an internal fissure, right? A massive, unrecoverable one, usually a fall prey to overconsumption that seems to lead to excessive violence and screwing. I don't know why. I mean, I moved to 11 when I moved to Rome at 11. And I mean, we toured vomitoriums, like they're still there, and the orgy houses, and the Coliseum. I mean, I used to walk my dog every day in Circus Maximus. And because my dad was a student when we went when I was 11 in Rome, I kept going back when he was a teacher and a dean. But I spent a lot of time looking into the past of Rome. And from the time I went when I was very young, the first time I saw America's future there, it was the weirdest thing. And as you learn about how advanced they were, you go, wow, they were that advanced, and then we ended up in the Middle Ages and medieval times. It's pretty impressive. And anyway, so the story I wanted to share that's been on my heart. So what I'm talking about is my dad was actually worked for the Air Force. But he ended up going from being a pilot to getting a PhD in computer science and being pretty cutting edge in security. So he ended up working at a 24-hour security center in Omaha, Nebraska. And that's where they watch like every military asset around the world. And they have a line direct to like Washington. And, I mean, I don't know if they still do, but then in the 90s they did. And but he was very advanced in security and operations. They moved him into NATO. So I went from being like a little homeschooled Christian girl living in Nebraska with only homeschooled evangelical Bible Christian friends I saw on Sunday mornings and Wednesday evenings, to moving to Rome, Italy, and my dad becoming part of NATO, where even as a kid, you still represent your country. And we were meeting people from all over the world all the time, especially at the NATO Defense College in Rome, Italy, where my dad attended and then was a teacher and the dean later. It's a 6-month course that the best and brightest from every country come to attend to learn more about NATO. And a lot of them are NATO countries, but not all. Some are, back when we were there were emerging countries, especially after the Serbian Herzegovina conflict, and you had new Eastern Bloc countries emerging, looking for protection and safety, and the leaders were young, and they were, because a lot of the old men died in the war, and so they came to NATO to be educated about how to run a country and how to work internationally and diplomatically. And so even as a kid, you had this piece of representation of America. And then my dad was assigned to NATO headquarters, actually, and I ended up living in Brussels, Belgium, until I was 15. And because I was homeschooled, again, I didn't do what my American peers did. Like, I wasn't a normal American teenager. They were all going to school or busing to an international school. Some of them learned fluent French as a result. I'm pretty good in German, but we'll get to that later. But French would have been really nice. But the perk of being homeschooled was I could travel, and I spent a lot of time hanging out at the NATO Defense College in Rome, Italy, and NATO headquarters in Brussels, Belgium. And because of that, doing homework, eating lunch. And because of that, I got a lot of face-to-face time with diplomats from all around the world and ambassadors. And even then, it blew my mind, because they would sit down with me and they would look me in the eye and they would say, look, young American girl, I need you to take a message back to the US for me. I need you to tell them that they elect the leader of the world, and that it is extremely important that America stays strong and unified and good. Please, give this message to Americans, how powerful you are, that really we follow your lead, and without you there are very dark forces in the world that, while America may not be perfect, because at times when I was with them I would complain about America and they'd be like, look, America may not be perfect, honey, but you need to set straight that it's very important for you guys to be cohesive and healthy because of the mass darkness that we who have just lived in America can't understand until you've been to some of these places. And my later travels in life, traveling to third world countries and seeing a lot, managing factory audits and reports you get, and going to factories in China, and like all the things that you get to expose yourself to, I gained much more understanding and depth for the human condition and the difference between a people and the government and all these things, right? Plus my dad was in computer science, and the gift of having a dad that was completely emotionally shut down and didn't want to talk, wasn't interested in anything having to do with his little daughter, was I started talking to him about, or asking him about, his computer science studies at a very young age. And I started programming in Turbo Pascal by 12. And I mean, I'm very smart, so somehow I was able to kind of grasp what he was talking about. Like, what's your dissertation on, Dad, today? And he's like 6 when I'm 6. So anyway, I just want to share that because I think it's a really important message for us today with what's going on, that we elect the leader of the world, and we really need to focus in on that we're not just running our government for us, guys. If this doesn't work out, there's no safe place to go. We run the economy, we run everything. And so it's time for us to really focus. Like, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I haven't been for a long time because of the story I'm just sharing with you. I vote based on character and what I think is best for the country. I voted for Nader for a long time. I go back and forth, and I've lost in every election like I've voted in since Obama. So one election, I think, in Obama. But anyway, I just want to say, like, this is about being American, and I love you whether you're Democrat or Republican. And we get spicy on here, but the truth is, this is about unity. This isn't about party. This is about following our law. I love my country. I love our law, and I love the world. I've been around a lot of it, and I love everybody there, and I love you. And I just wanted to share that story from my heart. Ta-ta for now.